Hello, and welcome to ZenithTech. Today we're going to be taking a look at a set of eBlue Cobra mice, a budget-priced entry point into the world of gaming computer mice. The eBlue mice both have optical sensors that have DPI adjustability from 800, 1200, 1600, and 2400. Those are only 4 incremental steps you cannot do in between DPI adjustment. We'll get into that later. It has 6 main buttons, 2 on the top, your standard left and right click. You have a scroll wheel button. You have your DPI button just behind that. And then you have 2 buttons on the sides. It comes in at 135 grams, which is pretty heavy for most higher end gaming mice, but in this budget category, 135 grams is pretty typical. Now, let's take a look at this mouse. It's a fairly sleek design with a palm-centered focus, specifically due to the slanted edges on the sides of the mouse. It's very comfortable for that palm grip. However, if you do want to adapt it towards a more of a claw grip, you might run into some discomfort when using it in that way because of the slanted sides that it has. If these sides were cut down a little bit, it could be more versatile. However, it might be a little bit less comfortable for those of you that prefer a palm grip on your mouse. The scroll wheel is a little looser than I prefer, but I also have a pretty high-end taste for mice. I use the Myonix caster as my daily driver currently. But it is a functional scroll wheel, and it will work for you, especially if this is your first entry into the gaming world or the performance end of the computer world. The Teflon pads on the bottom are fairly small, and they do look like they're already starting to wear after a couple of weeks of use. I think I put about a month's use into this red one, and they seem to be wearing down a little bit faster than I'd like. The cord is a textured plastic cord that ends in a distinctive connector, so when you're plugging it in and unplugging it, you know exactly what you're grabbing. With a non-gold-plated USB connector. It's pretty common for higher-end mice to have this gold plating on the USB connector. However, it makes no difference in the performance of the mouse, so don't be concerned if it doesn't. If your mouse, whether it be this one or another one you're looking at, doesn't have it. It does take a little bit of work to get the mouse running, but overall it's not a big deal. It only took me a couple of minutes to set up, and then I was off and running. And a reminder, even if the LEDs are on, that does not mean that the mouse is working. Make sure that you verify that it actually moves on your screen before, trying to get into it or, putting your computer back. I ran into this a little bit myself. The LEDs came on. When I plugged it in the first time, I moved my computer back, and, let's just say I had to pull the computer back out because it was having a conflict with my caster. So the DPI adjustment on the mouse worked fine from 800 all the way up to 2400. However, it wasn't as granular as I really expect out of most of the mice that I'm going to use as my daily driver. However, for somebody that's maybe a little bit newer to the performance scene or the gaming scene or the computer world in general, this type of added granularity isn't going to be necessary because you're starting off without any muscle memory built up from previous mice that you've used. So just picking one of the DPI that feels the best to you and running with that should be fine. I tested both of these mice in a variety of games, including Overwatch, PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, and the COD World War II beta, and overall it worked great. The buttons were immediately picked up by the various games as remappable buttons. So if you want to map your push to talk to one of the side buttons or even remap some of the primary buttons on the mouse, you'll have no problems with that at all. And in game, the mouse felt pretty good. I was pleasantly surprised overall. I was expecting the mouse to be mediocre, really, really lacking compared to the Caster and the Naos, two mice that I've been using recently. However, it didn't. It felt sluggish at times due to the 125 hertz polling rate, but the bulk of my gameplay wasn't affected by it. Now, I'm not, the best mechanical aimer out there. I'm not the perfect person to really test out these mice and put them through their paces. But for my level of gameplay, which is professional in the world of Overwatch, and I guess a casual player in these other games, I was able to still perform pretty well. Now, is this going to become my daily driver? No, it's not. I still prefer the 1000 hertz polling rate of the Myonix Caster and the Naos because they feel better. They feel like a more one-to-one experience than the 125 hertz on this mouse. Now, it is an optical mouse, so there is no acceleration, or very, very little from what I could tell, and I had no problems with it. At the end of the day, this is a fairly solid mouse. It's not going to become my daily driver anytime soon, because the mice that I enjoy have that 1000 hertz polling rate that really makes an impact in what I feel and the one-to-one nature of my gameplay. But if you're somebody new to the scene or getting into, building your first computer, or you're just looking for a solid mouse on a budget, this might be the one for you. Again, the 125 hertz polling rate's really the thing that killed it for me. The LEDs are pretty nice. They shine pretty okay in most situations. Daylight gets a little rough because they are fainter LEDs compared to some higher end mice. They do actually help you find the mouse if you're fumbling around at night trying to look for it. They are functional. They are there. They're not the brightest things, but they work. Now, these mice pair pretty well with a couple of keyboards that I've also picked up for review. The first one is the Red Dragon Chimera for the red version, and the EagleTech KG10 for the blue. Now, both of them are fairly budget, fully mechanical keyboards. They're within the $30 to $40 price range, depending on the time. And generally, they look pretty solid. They perform well, and I'll be doing full-on reviews of both of these keyboards later. So I've paired these mice up with these keyboards for no particular reason, outside of their color and the fact that I was pretty interested in the keyboards in the first place. Picked them up for review, which should be coming to this channel later. At the end of the day, these mice are pretty solid at their price point. $12 is not a whole lot in terms of the gaming oriented, your gaming branded peripheral market, and these have performed pretty well at that price point. Their tracking is decent. The lack of acceleration, especially in mice at the budget end of a spectrum of things, finding something with no acceleration and optical sensor is very, very good. And they have LEDs on them that can match your build, whether it's a red one or a blue one or something in between. So please feel free to go take a look at the description for any of the associated links for this video, social media for the channel, as well as Amazon pages for the two mice. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.